Greetings, and welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I'm your host, your double E, Ina Esco. This is a special podcast. As you know, we are at the end of Black History Month, and I said that, hey, I have to include my alma mater, LeMoyne Owen College, within the podcast programming before this month is over. It is the only HBCU in Memphis, Tennessee, and I wanted to have my esteemed panel here with me today to talk about the past, the present, and the future of the LeMoyne Owen College. So I am going to introduce my guests, but I would definitely like each one of the guests to my left, your right, to talk about their involvement with LeMoyne Owen College as it stands today. But to my left, I have the Interim President, Dr. Christopher B. Davis. How are you?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I am wonderful. Could you tell the good people how you have been involved with the school? Because I know you were on the board as well. So talk to us how we came to Interim President.
I spent about 9 years on the Board of Trustees at LeMoyne. Of course, I served as first vice chair. I served as chair of the board during Carol Johnson Dean's tenure as interim president.
Yes.
And most recently, I'm serving the institution as interim president.
Wow, how is that going?
I'm enjoying it.
Ew, yes. Okay. Well, that is amazing. I also have with me today a woman that I have always looked up to. She was there on the campus when I attended LeMoyne Owen College back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I am talking about the Director of Alumni Relations, Dr. June Chinn-Jointer. How are you, beautiful?
I'm great, sweetheart. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast today. And Dr. June, how long have you been at LeMoyne Owen College? And what have been your roles throughout the years?
Oh my goodness, I've been there on and off for 30, maybe 32 years.
Wow.
I would work somewhere else and they'd call and ask me to come back, and I would come home and I'd go somewhere else and work and they asked me to come back. So I said, this last time I'm retiring from my alma mater.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna try my best.
Okay.
I'm gonna try my best.
And when did you graduate?
I graduated in 1979.
Wow.
I loved it. As you stated, I've worn many hats. Started out as the Senior Alumni Placement Counselor in the Career Service Center office.
Wow.
I've worked in financial aid. I've worked in admissions as a recruiter, as the Director of Admissions, Dean of Enrollment Management, Dean of Retention. I was over the ACEP program, which is an accelerated program for adults in the business and criminal justice areas. And now I'm Director of Alumni Affairs.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're still with us after so many years.
Thank you. I'm glad to be there.
Yes.
I'm glad to be there.
Yes. And last but not least, I have with me Emeritus Professor Dr. Clarence Christian. And I've seen Dr. Clarence Christian at many events over the years. Since I've been at LeMoyne speaking on panels, I would say you are quite the historian and keeper of records of much of LeMoyne Owen College and Memphis history. Would you agree?
Well, I try to keep myself involved and informed.
Yes, sir.
That's about it.
So talk to us about your involvement with LeMoyne Owen College.
I will. I attended LeMoyne for 4 years and graduated at the end of that fourth year, 1968. I came back to the college in 1970 as interim dean of students, and then I served 3 years as an assistant professor in sociology and social work. And then I left Memphis, but I came back, and when I came back, I always was involved in the alumni affairs, and I was national alumni president at one time, and I was Memphis chapter alumni president at one time. You notice these dates are not with me anymore. I'm an old man. And so I've been around the college for a long, long time. I give it my support, my loyalty, and my critique.
Yes. Amazing.
And his money.
Okay.
He gives us his money.
His money?
Yes.
He's very supportive.
It says that alumni are supposed to give service, financial support, and be great advocates.
Yes.
So I've tried to be all three of those.
I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, Dr. Christian. I do well with service. I do well with service and advocacy. I got to do better with money.
Yes.
Well, you give us your time, so you have so many hats that you wear, and working with our students with our master class and all of that. So we appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to jump right into the podcast. And like I said before, this is talking about the past, the present, and the future of LeMoyne Owen College. So I kind of want to start with Dr. Christian as far as the category of the past. I would love for you, Dr. Christian, to provide a brief overview of the founding and early years of LeMoyne Owen College and the significance it's had within the HBCU community.
Okay. Well, I would start by saying that many people may not realize it, but LeMoyne Owen College is an Amistad school.
Yes.
And hopefully we understand what the Amistad incident was all about. It's a school that grew out of a social justice movement. It's a school that was created by the Congregationalist Church, a group of evangelical abolitionists. They had many basic premises, but several of those premises I think we need to know about. One was that slavery was wrong. 2, that women could preach. And 3, that literacy and religion were essential to the soul. And the vehicle through which this was done after the Amistad incident, of course, they created an organization called the American Missionary Association. And monies left over from the Amistad incident and monies raised by the American Missionary Association was sent to the Southwest for Native American education and support. And then, of course, as the rumor of war began, they also sent money to the South to support the contraband, they called it. It was gathering at the Union camps around the South. And they set up about 300 or so schools. Lincoln Chapel was just one of those schools. Of those 300 or so schools, only 6 of those schools still survive. But in the early days of the college, of course, you know, LeMoyne was destroyed during the Memphis Massacre, 1866. It had several other financial upheavals. And then it became a part of the Memphis City school system, but back out of it. A lot of people don't know this after about a half year because it was not receiving the kind of support that the other schools were receiving, and those who were responsible for the school, because they were not from the South, began to complain, and so they moved out of that. But anyway, around 1868-69, an abolitionist medical doctor gave $20,000 to the American Missionary Association. He said, I want you to use this money where there's the greatest need. And they sent that money to Memphis because Memphis had the largest gathering of contraband, that is, people who had left farms and plantations and come toward the Union camps for protection and for education. And they sent in, of course, a missionary teacher who came and she started the school, and it moved, of course, from being an elementary school, then became a normal school, then a junior college, then a 4-year college by 1934. And in 1934, Brownlee, who was the president, called it a prophetic institution. I guess a title that still befits my alma mater.
Yes.
So that brings us up to the 1930s. But in the early days of the school, the whole notion was that social justice was the motive for the founding of the school. Social justice would be the motive for motif behind the educational system that was in the school, and that wherever the students went, they would take with them their competency in their field, but also a social justice impulse, whether they go into a classroom, a courtroom, a boardroom, or even their own bedroom, take a social justice impulse.
Yes. Wow. And you know, when you think about it, Memphis, there were so many just different occurrences with social justice, right? And right here in Memphis, Tennessee, even within these 4 walls of Cossitt Library.
Yes, I thought that was appropriate because I said, wow, we're gathering here today, the last day of African American History Month at Cossitt Library, a place where one of our a person came to this library and checked out books under the auspices of his boss, Richard Wright. And then this is a place where the first sit-in movement took place in Memphis under the urgings of one of LeMoyne graduates. And it's ironic, he came to LeMoyne College that day, but he was not welcomed, so he went over to the junior college, which became a part of LeMoyne Owen, and he was able to convince 7 students to come with him to Cossitt here. And of course, the library closed on them, but the next day the students at LeMoyne decided, hey, we better get in on this. And of course, that started the sit-in movement here in Memphis in 1960.
And show who that person was.
That person was Marion Barry, who was the first. We talk about LeMoyne and its output. Dr. Hollister Price always said that a school or a college is measured by the production of its graduates. And Marion Barry was, at the time, the first chair of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was the college arm of Southern Christian Leadership Conference. And he thought that since other schools and colleges around the country were involved in the sit-in movement and in freedom rides, that his alma mater should be involved as well.
Yes, yes.
Another social justice impulse.
Wow. Now, how has LeMoyne Owen College's mission and values changed since its inception?
I think consecration, courage, truth. I hear those precepts now. They're the precepts that came out of the Amistad. If you look at the LeMoyne Owen emblem, you see the open book.
Yes.
The knowledge is available to all. You see the ship. You see all of that. So I don't think that the basic values of the college have changed. And I'm not talking about the stuff that you see in 5 and 10 year long-range planning processes. That's a formalization of a mission. But I think the basic mission of the college has not changed over time. That is to provide education. And to be a resource and a useful resource and provide people who can be part of understanding the human condition and be involved in improving that condition. So I don't think that mission has changed. Of course, over the years, you've had different formulations in terms of how changes have taken place, say maybe in the resources, the workforce development processes, but LeMoyne Owen College has been, since its inception, a liberal arts school with an liberal arts and sciences background. And I think that a liberal arts education gives you an advantage, even if you're going into industry and business. It gives you an advantage because of not just having a specialty, but having a well-rounded education. It gives you an understanding of, again, the human condition.
Yes, yes. And I have a question. This question is open for the entire panel, for who would ever like to answer this question. And my question is, how has Memphis embraced LeMoyne Owen College over the years in your experience? Just while working there, being a student there. I remember when I was at LeMoyne Owen College in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was a very vibrant, active campus. A lot of, I would say, marketing surrounding the school and things of that nature. I felt like Memphis really embraced the college. How has your experience been with Memphis as a whole embracing the school? Whether that's good, bad, indifferent?
Well, honestly, I've seen peaks and valleys.
Yes.
Based on leadership, we've had peaks and we've had a lot of valleys. But all in all, the Memphis community loves LeMoyne Owen College. We have been here to provide a refuge for people who were planning sit-ins, who were planning political rallies. I know the Crime Commission, they do a lot with the college through our sociology department. So they still embrace the college. It just depends on, like you say, what phase the college is going through. And we have been through so many phases over the years.
Yes.
But hopefully we're on the upswing again. We're getting ready to see another peak.
I think so.
Yeah, we're getting ready to see another peak. A lot of good things are happening.
Well, we can go back to Memphis is a city in the South, and racism is one of its blooming flowers. And so the college has been seen in that context. I remember being on the campus in the early 60s. I have stories from people who were there in the 50s, have faculty members who were at the Amistad Research Center who were there. And I know Mr. Dahlstrom, who served the college 12 years as, I think he was one of the few chairs of the board at LeMoyne. And in 1966, he authorized a study to be done by the Chamber of Commerce to see how businesses in Memphis saw LeMoyne Owen College. I took time when I was over there going through the papers to read through the responses from the various business people. They accepted LeMoyne on an accommodationist basis, but I think that the college itself has to say, whoever you accept me or not, I'm here. You're going to have to embrace me because I'm important to you, and you're going to have to understand that.
Yes, definitely. Wow.
Well, I sort of view my role as chief fundraiser and chief cheerleader for LeMoyne. And the reason I start with that statement is because in that role, every day in some capacity, I'm telling the LeMoyne story and making the case for support. And one of the things that I've appreciated is that I can't think of an instance where individuals with whom I was sharing did not recognize the importance of LeMoyne to the city. Now, that does not come without challenge. That does not come without critique, some of which is deserved. But all in all, I think the city recognized, well, in fact, I'll give you an example. I was meeting just a couple of weeks ago with a philanthropist, and I was sort of giving my elevator speech around the importance of LeMoyne, and he said something to me. He said, Dr. Davis, let me say this to you. He says, you don't have to sell me on the importance of LeMoyne. He says, as a matter of fact, I'm clear on the fact that if Memphis didn't have LeMoyne, we'd have to build LeMoyne.
Wow.
We'd have to build LeMoyne. So what that says to me is people are beginning to understand that as LeMoyne goes, so goes the city of Memphis. In fact, I was in a conversation with Ted Townsend, the director of the chamber, not long ago. And of course, if you've heard Ted on the Stomp, one of the things he continues to say is that the future of Memphis is dependent upon the creation of black wealth. So how do you have a conversation about the creation of black wealth in Memphis and not recognize the importance and the viability of LeMoyne Owen College?
True. Wow. Wow. With that being said, Dr. Davis, can you share some recent success stories or initiatives that highlight the college's commitment to academic excellence and student success?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we're perhaps, we have a lot that we're proud of, but of course, one of the recent things that we're proud of is, of course, historically, from an academic standpoint, of course, LeMoyne has focused on our teacher education program. Many of those who have had storied careers with Memphis City and Shelby County schools. In fact, a lot of the names that we call those who are, quote unquote, for lack of a better term, successful in our city, and they began to name teachers who were significant in that training. The majority of those, particularly those who look like us, of course, were trained and prepared at LeMoyne Owen College. But of course, as we look at our city, and we look at how our city is growing and evolving and so forth, one of the things that we recognize as an institution is we need to put our students in a position to succeed. When you talk about this area, one of the things that makes Memphis special in terms of a distribution hub, we like to say you can fly it in, you can float it in, you can truck it in, and you can rail it in.
That's true.
Into Memphis. This is a supply chain and logistics city. So one of the things that we've done is the rebranding of our ASAP program. Of course, we have focused our attention on a concentration in supply chain and logistics to respond to the needs in this particular market. Another thing that we've done, we've invested a tremendous amount of resources in information technology, computer science, cybersecurity. That's probably one of the fastest growing industries in the country. As a matter of fact, watch the paper. You'll see something in the next few months around the groundbreaking for our Turk Center. That's an acronym for Technology, Innovation, and Research Center. So we're excited about that. We've signed a number of MOUs with other entities in the city to ensure that our students who are interested in going on to graduate school and so forth, they will be provided with those opportunities. So as far as our academic direction goes and preparing our students for success, I think we've made significant strides. And we've made some investment in resources that will serve our students and serve this community well over the long haul.
Yes, and technology is extremely important.
Absolutely.
Yes, so I'm glad to hear about the Turk system, the Turk institution.
The center.
The Turk Center.
Technology, Innovation, and Research Center.
I love it.
Of course, we will have we'll have maker space in there.
Okay.
We will certainly, of course, we look forward to our students at Hollis Price, our campus school, utilizing it, but even beyond Hollis Price, of course, we've signed MOUs with Booker T. Washington and other schools in the neighborhood to ensure that those students will be able to take advantage of it. It's sinful and it's shameful that if you live in 38126, you have to go down Poplar to East High School to go somewhere where there's a STEM focus. Well, we're going to change all of that at LeMoyne.
All right. I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Wow. So let's segue into community engagement and partnerships. Dr. June, I want to talk with you about this. Tell us about how does LeMoyne Owen College engage with the local community here in Memphis and collaborate with other institutions and organizations to enhance our impact?
Well, we have a lot of relationships within the community and outside of the Memphis community. We have grants with Meharry. We do a lot of work with Meharry Medical through our Title III and different programs that we have. We have relationships with Knowledge Quest, which is a community-based organization, and one of our alums, Marlon Foster, is the founder of Knowledge Quest. And our students get an opportunity to work there, and some of our students live on his campus. So we have a great deal of relationship with University of Memphis. They hire a lot of our students during the summertime in technology. So the relationship in the city continues with the Shelby County school system.
Yes.
We have a great relationship with them. We do a lot with our community-based organizations. Like I said, the Crime Commission, this campus is like an open book for community-based organizations to meet and visit our campus. We have different organizations that come on campus and have meetings. We have the Rotaract Club on campus, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And one of our alums, Ms. Linda Williams, was very instrumental in making sure we got a Rotaract chapter on our campus.
Yes.
So as you can see, we continue to keep our hands on the pulse of the community. We try to stay engaged as much as we can. We have the St. Jude Call Center on campus.
Yes.
So we do a lot. We do a lot. And our students have an opportunity to get engaged in a lot of different activities and engagements in the community.
They do. Yes, they do.
Oh, yes, they do. You know it for a fact.
I know it for a fact.
Yeah.
For a fact. And you mentioned some of our alum. Let's talk about alum for a minute and alumni relations. How does LeMoyne Owen College engage and connect with its alumni? And what initiatives are in place to strengthen that relationship?
Well, as a matter of fact, our national president is here with us today, Christian Hurd, and she's done a great job during her tenure and trying to bring everybody together, forge those relationships. The national alumni, as well as the Memphis chapter, have different events to engage our alums. For example, we just had the MLK breakfast last Monday, which was sponsored by the Memphis chapter. We have our Juneteenth program celebration in June, which Christian started during her tenure as president. Our homecoming has grown. We've gotten them engaged in homecoming and different events that we have on campus. They're mentors. They come in and they speak to our students through what the SJ calls Lunch with a Legend. So we keep our alums engaged in helping our students on campus. They're mentors. You know, we have first Wednesdays where they come on campus and engage the students and help them to prepare themselves for the real world. They do role playing. They do interviews with them. We have different alums who have internships. Tracy Miller is very good. He's with the Pacific Canadian Railroad, and he's trying to get students through internships and hire them after they graduate. So we have alums in high places that are trying try to carry the torch and do the same thing they did back in the day when we were students.
Indeed, indeed.
And if I could just add, of course, Dr. Jones didn't mention this, but of course, she's been incredibly helpful in this regard. We are introducing something that we are presently calling presidential pop-ups.
Oh.
That is to say, of course, just about a month or so ago, I was in California.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, and so we were able to convene a gathering of our alums in Southern California. In fact, I'll be in D.C. next week.
Okay.
And so we're working on a gathering in D.C.
What does the pop-up look like, the presidential pop-ups?
Well, what ends up happening is, of course, normally we look at my travel schedule in terms of what parts of the country I'm supposed to be in.
Okay.
I let Dr. June know. She reaches out to alums in an area and says, the president is coming to town and he wants to meet you. Yeah. And normally we count on an alum in that area to sort of take the lead, reach out to other alums they know in the area, and just give me an opportunity to introduce myself, give them an update as to what's going on with their institution, and remind them that their institution still needs their support.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And he'll be in Chicago in April.
That's right. We have one in Chicago in
Come
April.
on, pop-up.
That's
I
right.
like this
Pop it
pop-up
up.
idea. Wow. Now, what would you say to alum of LeMoyne Owen College that are not engaged, that, have you heard the term life be lifing?
Yeah.
And they just, for whatever reason, they're not connected to their alma mater. What would all of you say to those alum to encourage them to get back connected with the school?
I'm going to share, Monday was LOC Monday, where the students go on Facebook and they listed their year that they graduated, their major. And I mean, when I say hundreds of students have linked on Facebook sharing their experiences. Some did go, they went into detail, but they definitely felt good about telling the year and their major when they were students at LeMoyne Owen College. And some of those students' names I hadn't seen in years. And so I had a student today, one of my work study students, we went through the list to get those students who are not engaged. Alumni. Yeah. Well, I said students. I mean, that's one of those hats I've worn in the past. But to get our alums engaged, we try to encourage them to come to the alumni meetings. That's one way. But as a young alum once, I used to be the youngest person at the alumni meeting, myself and Parnell Wiggins. And we were like, oh my God, these old people are not gonna let us say anything. And now I'm an old person. But we felt the same way. And so Christian and some other alums are trying to get our young graduates engaged in the Alumni Association. The only way it's going to change is that you get involved. You have great ideas. A lot of these young people have great ideas, but they think that they're not going to be welcome because of the senior saints won't let them come in and share. Well, that's coming to an end. We want all of our alums to come back, to get engaged, to help us, because we've got to help our students. If we don't help our students have the same positive experiences we had at LeMoyne, hey, it's going to be over. Yeah. Because I had a wonderful time when I was at LeMoyne. I'll tell anybody.
I did too.
I did too.
I had a ball. I really did have a ball.
I was bald.
Yeah, we did. I mean, honestly, we were able to fellowship, but we still had faculty and staff that stayed in our bus to make sure we were doing what we were supposed to do.
That's true.
I heard Clarence when he said he finished in 4 years. I came in 1975 and I graduated in April of 79, and I had to co-op. They had cooperative education at the time. You had to co-op a whole semester in a field close to your major, which gave you on-the-job training before you even graduated from LeMoyne. And so those are things that we need to bring back to help these students, because we do have a lot of work with them. You know, what are they, the Generation Z, or?
They're like, at this point,
where are we
Generation
now?
Alpha.
Yeah.
That's the new generation.
That's the new generation. And
Yes.
so they are very straightforward. They're going to tell you what's on their minds, but we have to take them and mold them and redirect some of that energy.
Yes.
Because I don't care, it's 2024, but you got to think back to 1950s and 60s. The mentality is still there.
Yeah.
And they still see you as a black person.
Okay.
So we still have to work harder. We still have to be smarter. And all of that smart, the thinking that they have can be directed and do things they want to get done, but there's still a way you have to proceed in doing those things. You just can't jump in somebody's face and say, it doesn't work like that anymore. You still have to come to them. You have to let them know, hey, this is something I would like to do. How do you feel about it? What do you think about it? And there are steps in doing that. But we've got to teach our young people that. And that's why we have HBCUs.
Yes.
To help our black students, prepare them for the future so they can fit in and be productive citizens as well and contributors.
Our tradition of philanthropy is not that long and deep. And so we cannot expect the next generation without any example to jump in there and give their monies to causes which might be beyond their own personal pleasures and other kind of things. So we have to use the example of those who are involved, provide them with information about what's happening, invite them to be engaged, and be glad when they come and cheer them when they do. Let them know. But we cannot expect, again, for the masses to step into the place where they assumed that was the role of the elite in the past. But again, that does not say that we cannot develop a tradition of philanthropy amongst all of us, but we know that that's a long way off. So I don't despair when I hear the gap between old alumni and young alumni, because you hear that in every Negro organization in America.
Yes.
Whether it's sorority, fraternity, college, or church. And I think that the gap is more imagined than real. And when we bring it up, we stifle the possibility of getting rid of that conversation about the gap. So when I was National Alumni President, I snatched you up to do something specific. Hopefully you will hang on. If you didn't hang on, at least I got that out of you, and maybe 25 years from now, you remember that and you become the person like I was then, you know. So again, we have to, as a college, as alumni and other folk that are supporting the college, have to do what we're to do, to be examples, and then encourage and invite.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that the institution has to be mindful of in terms of alums, we have to be intentional about staying in contact with our alums, keeping them abreast of what's going on in the institution. In fact, they can't hear from us when we need a check. Mm-hmm. The relationship has to be bigger than just a checkbook. And I think the other thing that we have to be mindful of, even when we talk about more recent alums in terms of this generation, they're not moved by brick and mortar. Mm-hmm. They're interested in investing their money in that which they perceive to be transformational, bigger than themselves. And so I think it's incumbent upon us as an institution to make them aware of the transformational work that we're doing in terms of how we're still continuing to support those that are often considered the least, the last, and the looked over. In terms of, so whatever they're giving, we have to demonstrate in a very real way that we're good stewards of those resources.
Yes.
So whether they're sending us a $1,000 check or a $10 check, one of the things that we have to be mindful of is that it takes all of it for us to get the work done, and we've got to be intentional about keeping the alum aware of opportunities to support your institution, not just with your checkbook, but also with your time, your talent. You know, one of the things that I often say to alums is, listen, you can send me something better than a check. And they say, what's that? I said, send me a student.
Okay.
Send me a student.
Yes.
So.
Wow. Now, each person sitting on this stage is a member of a Greek letter organization. Myself, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Dr. Davis, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity.
Put a little more respect on that, Lisa.
Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Appreciate that.
Dr. Joyner is Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and Dr. Christian, you're a man of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated.
That's correct.
How have your organizations changed your lives, and why is it so important to have Greek organizations on the HBCU campuses?
Well, first of all, they're Greek letter organizations, and I oftentimes have to tell people you are not a Greek. Our organizations, as best I can determine from what I read about all of them, have Greek letters, African symbols, and religious principles. The only difference is one started before the other, and the other decided they didn't like the way somebody else was doing it, and so we think we can do it better. So that's the essence of the matter, and that's good because ultimately they're all about having a group of people who are encouraging and demanding from each other the best out of each other. And so that's what HBCU should be about, demanding the best out of everybody. One of our biggest failures as HBCUs is we claim to be institutions that are all embracing, that are mothering and fathering, yet we have the highest attrition rates of any institutions in this country as a group. So I think what we have to do is be real and honest about it and look at how the model of these Greek letter organizations and these other organizations, because some of them are not Greek letter organizations, but others too, they actually do a pretty good job of retaining each other. But then getting into an organization is one thing, staying committed to it and active with it is another. And those organizations have the same problems from my perspective, from what I can see from history and from reading and observing, as do HBCUs.
Yeah, we have to explain to our young people the importance of Greek letter organizations, and when they join our organizations, why they're joining them, and the purpose of you joining them. I know Clarence just mentioned when they go through the membership intake process and they become a member of your organization, our responsibility as the alumni members is to help those young people, to make them understand that you've made a lifetime commitment, and the commitment is to help another person, your sorority sister or somebody in the community, because we're all community-based organizations. That means that you're to help somebody pull them up by their bootstraps and make them understand what this organization is all about. It's not about wearing t-shirts. It's not about stepping all the time and whooping and ski-weeing, but it's about helping your fellow man. We have people out here that are hungry. I was showing a young lady when I went to physical therapy today what my daughter was doing, and she's in the Katy, Texas chapter. And they were feeding the hungry this past weekend, and her husband went too. And I was showing he's not Greek, but I was showing the picture of him with his little bonnet on his head, getting involved in the process. And so I asked him, I said, how did you like that? He said, Mom, really, I enjoyed it. Seeing the faces of those young people that we were feeding and providing school supplies and clothing to, it made me feel how blessed I am. And that's what we as Greek letter organizations that's the feeling we should all get. It's how blessed we are, number one, to be a part and to be able to be a part of an organization, but our community outreach and what we're doing within the community to continue to help these young people understand that are under our tutelage what they should be doing.
Indeed. Indeed. Mm-hmm. Okay, Kappa Alpha Psi. Let me say that right. Kappa Alpha Psi.
There you go. You know, of course, I think my experience may be a bit different in that, of course, I did my undergraduate work at the PWI.
Okay.
And when I arrived, there were 19,000 students on campus at that time. Those that looked like me, undergrad, grad school, law school, and black faculty and staff, all of us together. equaled less than 1,000.
Wow.
Equaled less than 1,000.
Where did you go?
University of Arkansas.
Gotcha.
I think today it's around 32,000. We were about 19,000 at that time. But the interesting thing was, so what I discovered, not just in Kappa Alpha Psi, but just in the Divine Nine family, was a sense of connection, a sense of belonging, a sense of place. And so, of course, that was significant for us. So, of course, some of the experiences that my colleagues had on HBCU campuses, we didn't have when you're that small. So, of course, there was no such thing as the Kappas and the Alphas having a party the same day at the same time. We weren't big enough for that. So we had to support one another. But, of course, but even beyond that, now as a life member of Kappa Alpha Psi, one of the things that I think I love most about my fraternity is that, and the Divine Nine family, because I'm sure all of us share the same story, is I don't go anywhere without connection or without a sense of belonging, especially now with the advent of technology. In fact, many moons ago, even when my son went off to college, and he was trying to sort of find his way around the area, I was able to jump on, send an email and say, hey, my son is in the area, this is what he's got going on. And before I could hit send good, I had already gotten back like 15, 20 replies saying, Noob, listen, this is my number, give it to your son, this is my address. And I've been able to do that for all of my children when they've gone off to school. And so I think oftentimes when they're undergrads and running around campus wearing their T-shirts and so forth, they don't recognize in terms of what an asset this will be much later in life as they move forward in their professional careers. Not only a sense of belonging, but also in terms of references and so forth. I mean, I've gotten emails from individuals who said, hey, my son just graduated, got a degree in this, he's moving to Memphis, any leads you could provide would be greatly appreciated.
Yes.
So the networking of it all.
I love it, I love it.
As life member number 2666 of Alpha Pi Alpha, I posit this. If we allow students at the HBCUs to dance around their classes and then dance around their fraternities and sororities, then the reason for both will never get achieved. And I say that because in some instances I've noticed, you talk about achieving and individuals' preparation being urged by others, but sometimes I see too much competition between the organization, and they spend their time in frivolities as opposed to in things that are going to enhance themselves and focusing on the kinds of things that are going to enhance themselves. And then I notice sometimes that I don't think either of these organizations is rid of the word scholarship or academic achievement in their mottos, purposes, or missions. But sometimes when you hear and see presentations of self, you wonder, what is going on here? And so I guess this is a challenge to those who are still in the academy, Interim President and Madam Mother June, for you to make sure that the students know the real purposes and reasons why. Yeah, because I wonder, I've been on a lot of campuses, a lot, because that's all I do. I retired in 2007, but I'm around a lot of places doing a lot of things. Hopefully they have some value. But I've observed too much that was not majoring in the unimportant and ignoring the important.
Okay.
But that's where you have to redirect them.
Yeah.
You got to redirect them.
And that's what I'm challenging you.
Yes, it can be challenging.
It can.
Just, coming back on campus, seeing my sorors and talking to them about, what are they currently doing on campus, off campus, in the community, and just steady encouraging them, right?
Right.
That's the importance of the alumni chapter.
Right.
And while undergrad students don't always welcome their presence,
True.
and they're not always excited about them being there, that's the importance of, that's why it's so important that the, you know what I'm saying, the members of the alumni chapters are present. You know what I'm saying? Of course, they're still going to fall in some ditches.
Yeah.
But we can eliminate some of the ditches
Yes.
that they fall in by simply being present. And in all of our organizations, there is something known as deference. So even if they don't necessarily like it, you say, if they've been taught anything, they understand the importance of deference. So if nothing else, you're able to utilize that and say, this is not who we are. This is not what our focus is. And you are not representative of my organization.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yes. Well, let's talk about the future of LeMoyne Owen College because
It's bright.
Yeah, it's bright. I feel like, and I've seen a lot of press lately. I've seen a lot of visuals lately. Feels like rebranding going on. I'm hearing the source.
The source.
The source. Dr. Davis, tell us about this new rebranding strategy, the source with LeMoyne Owen College.
7 months ago, when I arrived at LOC as the interim, and I met with the executive committee, I asked them quite simply, I said, what makes LeMoyne special? I said, why should anyone support LeMoyne? And as you can imagine, one of the first responses I got was, well, you know, we're the only HBCU in the city of Memphis. What I don't think they were prepared for was my response, which was, so what? I said, what do you mean, so what? I said, well, here's the reality. If I'm in search of black talent, I don't have to come to LeMoyne. I can find it at U of M, Rhodes, Christian Brothers, any number of places. I say so. And while that's significant that we're the only HBCU in town, you say, what else makes us special? And so as we continue to have that conversation, I was listening for something specific, and I never heard it. And so I said to them, I said, you don't think it's significant that we're the 5th oldest HBCU in the nation? I said, which means while Howard and Spelman and Morehouse and Hampton and some of those with a larger public profile, while they were still a hope in somebody's heart, the doors of LeMoyne were already open.
Okay.
We were already doing the work, which suggests that we are the source, especially in this city. We're the source of black culture. We're the source of black pride. We're the source of black excellence. And so the idea is not just to remind those who are part of the dominant culture, but to remind everyone, black and white alike, that LeMoyne is we are the source
Yes.
of black brilliance.
Yes, indeed. I like it, the source. Yes, it's plastered everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
LeMoyne Owen College, the
source.
I wanted to say we were the source of black magic, but I didn't know how you church folk
No.
respond.
And I'm not a church folk.
Dr. Christian, you said no.
No, and I would hope you would not say the source of magic, okay, or black magic, because I think about 4 or 5 years ago, the college did have a homecoming theme, black magic, and I went, what? But anyway, whether we are the source or the resource, I think he talked about the resilience of the college. You know, there were other schools that were here before us. They went their way. I told you earlier there were 300 or so schools, and of those 300 or so schools started by the American Missionary Association, only 6 are left. Well, there are 12 PWIs. There were also schools that were founded by the Congregationalist Church too. And I know that at one time LeMoyne had a relationship with Grinnell College of Iowa with an exchange program and a couple of other places. But I think that it's important for us to realize that it was, for over 100 years, LeMoyne was also the only place in Memphis, the only oasis, where there was a desegregated situation, or where people could come together across racial lines, etc. And that created a bit of tension for the city. It was a place over there by itself, so they know how to take it, so they drive down Walker Avenue, etc. So when the National Council of International Visitors came to Memphis, they were not going to go any place unless it was desegregated. And so LeMoyne became the spot. When the Lyceum features came to Memphis, they would go to the Opera House here in Memphis, and they found that it had a segregationist policy. So they found themselves at LeMoyne College. Quite frankly, at times in Bruce Hall, which is in the 1950s, which is more recent. But again, those are important things to remember. It was a source of educational resources. LeMoyne Owen College in the 1930s and 40s had, for the first time, LeMoyne, Fisk, and Hampton were the only schools that allowed independent student government associations.
Wow.
And I say that because, even though we talk about HBCUs and black colleges and stuff, there were some things there. And I think it's important to remember those three principles I said that the Congregationalists were based upon early on, because those are foundational kinds of issues and the kinds of things that LeMoyne tried to promulgate over time through its faculty, through its students. And we've had, right now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the home of one of LeMoyne's graduates is placed on the historical register. And in 2009, he was named Mr. Civil Rights of Wisconsin. He became a lawyer, sued the state of Wisconsin, the city of Milwaukee, and he passed legislation, even though he was the only black in the state legislature in Wisconsin. They passed laws that protect the rights of African Americans, women, LGBT, and Q people, and all other people who were left out. That was in the 1960s, early 1960s. We have a LeMoyne graduate who became the first African American woman to be certified in the College of Surgery for pediatric surgery, Josephine Isabel Jones. We've had folk all over this place, and C.Eric Lincoln, many of you may know about him. He's a Memphian. C.Eric Lincoln was probably LeMoyne's most prolific publisher, published over 17 books. His 12 major works are in LeMoyne's library, signed copies that we acquired during the sesquicentennial. But C.Eric Lincoln was cited by Pope John II for his work, his scholarly work. But most importantly, he put a human face on black Muslims in America in his book, Black Muslims in America. Because before that, African Americans were scared of black Muslims in America. They were seen as people out to kill and steal and deprive. And then Clenora Hudson Weems, she was on the campus just recently. She's an MIT scholar, a historian, and she brought a different theoretical perspective to the women's movement with her Africana womanism. And her theory on what was the catalyst or stimulus for the modern day civil rights movement is now the accepted notion that Emmett Till's body and his lynching was the catalyst and not the Rosa Parks bus. So LeMoyne students have busted old theoretical models. They blazed new trails. In fact, there's one of LeMoyne's faculty, Dr. Juanita Williams, God rest her soul, wrote, and her dissertation was called A Various Language. And in the 1930s, she was telling the world that English in this country was a synthesis of the African dialect, Native American dialect, and other stuff. And people at the time were saying, whoa, whoa, whoa. And now today we're saying, oh yes, she was so right.
Yes.
So that they've been trailblazers. And I think, like he said, they were the source of models, of theories, of intellectuality, models of citizenship. And that's why I say it's always important, I think, as we go forward toward this rebranding, this rethinking, renaming, that we keep in mind the historical notion of why the college was founded in the first place. And that is to bring justice in the world and have people to go out to be scholar activists so that they can not only go out there and work, but work for transformational change. We have some people now who go into the school classroom, they go in there and hope that the day doesn't last too long because I need my check at the end of the month. As opposed to people who are going into the classroom and want to make a difference with students no matter the challenges that they face. And that's the kind of critical stuff that I look for in the future of LeMoyne Owen, my alma mater, dear.
I was sitting here when Clarence was talking and Dr. Davis and thinking about my experience at LeMoyne Owen College. One of the things that we had during chapel, and it was mandatory, they shut the campus down. They would lock every building. You could either go sit in your car on that parking lot on the back, or you went to chapel. But one of the things...
Tell them where chapel was held.
It was held at Second Congregational Church. And we would have a wonderful time because we always had diverse speakers. We didn't always have Baptist preachers. We had rabbis would come and talk to us. We had Muslims to come and talk to us. I mean, it was just diverse all the time. And it was very interesting because it gave us another perspective on the real world. And that was one of the reasons I was fascinated about LeMoyne, was because the diversity of the faculty at the time. We had everybody there. Everybody, Indian, white, black, you name it, they taught at LeMoyne Owen College, which helped us deal with the real world when we graduated from LeMoyne, so we knew how to interact with different people. As a black person growing up in the South, it made a big difference. And so we've got to make our students understand that that quality is still there. You know, but we all have to do it collectively. Dr. June can't do it by herself, Dr. Davis can't do it. But all of us on that campus have to help our young people understand that you're gonna have to make some changes. You're supposed to come in as a little pebble, but when you leave, you're leaving as a diamond. And it's because of the education and the interaction and relationships that you developed at LeMoyne Owen College.
Yes, indeed. Wow. LeMoyne Owen College, the source, another, I guess, change for LeMoyne Owen College that I've recently seen, and I'm a former student athlete, a scholar athlete from LeMoyne Owen College. I entered LeMoyne Owen on a academic and athletic scholarship, and by the time I ended my career at LeMoyne Owen, I was a full Du Bois scholar. Right, so I played volleyball my first 2 years. I see that we have entered into the SIAC Men's Volleyball League. Where did that come from? And tell me about this partnership.
Well, of course, we're always looking for an opportunity to grow, to advance, to expand our offerings. And of course, the interesting part is, of course, men's volleyball may be one of the fastest growing sports in the country right now.
I saw that.
Even beyond that, of course, the defending national Olympic champions is the U.S. team. Well, what Team USA has figured out is other teams in the world are getting better. They're closing the gap between themselves and the U.S., and it's because of their farm system. Well, what Team USA has figured out is, of course, men's volleyball was really relegated to the West Coast. And of course, they had sense enough to know anything that we become involved in, we take it over. It doesn't make a difference what sport it is. Yeah. We take it over. Well, the problem was we weren't playing volleyball because it wasn't offered. Well, the captain of the U.S. men's team, who also happened to be the head coach at UCLA, who just won the NCAA championship, said, listen, we have got to diversify men's volleyball. And what better way to do it than to partner with HBCUs? Well, they reached out to the commissioner of the SIAC, which of course LeMoyne happens to be a part of. And over the course of the last 2 years, more and more schools in the SIAC are coming on board with financial support from First Point Volleyball to make it possible. And so just recently, LeMoyne became the 7th institution in the conference to welcome men's volleyball. And of course, we're the 4th institution in the state of Tennessee.
Wow.
NCAA Division I or Division II to welcome men's volleyball. So we're excited about it.
Are the male students on campus excited? Are they expressing interest?
Well, here's the interesting part. In fact, I had a student just today that stopped me in the dining hall and said, "Hey, are we going to have tryouts? What's the story?" So
they ready.
They're ready. So.
He said he's ready.
He's ready.
Wow, that's amazing, to have that added into the athletic department at LeMoyne Owen College, because the athletic department was so instrumental into me just moving through college and learning discipline, right? Because my Nedra Brown,
yes,
my volleyball coach at the time, she did not play with us and was very instrumental in just my life and me becoming a woman. So
Nedra was a part of the Southern California alumni.
Yes.
I hung out with about a month ago.
Oh, yes. Wow, that is amazing. Okay, well, we're going to wrap the podcast up. I have truly enjoyed all of your stories, all of your, words of encouragement, advice on alumni relations and the future of LeMoyne Owen College. But I would love for each one of you to leave a gem about LeMoyne Owen College with our audience today, with the people that will be hearing the podcast. Leave us with a gem that you want the world to know about LeMoyne Owen College.
We'll let you start.
I'm the oldest person up here, so it takes me a little time to think about what it is, but there were a huge number of little pebbles who made up this gem that you're talking about for me. I met my best friend at LeMoyne. We're still friends, we're still alive. We chat once a week. We talk about help pay the rent parties for our house so we have a place to live. We talk about his flunking statistics because he's the one who registered both me and he for the 8 a.m. statistics class, but he decided that I was responsible for waking him up, and I got tired of doing it. But significant for both of us, we came from out of Memphis, which at the time was pretty rare because, I think it wasn't that rare because even today with the dorms, LeMoyne is still primarily Memphis. And everybody in Memphis, everybody at the school at the time we came to LeMoyne in August 14, 1964, seemed to have already had their little friendship circles. So we standing on Brownlee steps after an orientation, and I said, well, we might as well be friends. He said, yes, we are. And we've been friends since. But I think the biggest gem for me was having faculty who taught a 9:30 a.m. sociology class says, at 2 p.m. today, for any student who's interested in coming, I'm having a learning session. I don't know what else to call it. But for every week for those 14 weeks, she met with any students who want to come after class for any advanced understanding. That professor and that session got me to the University of Chicago and at the school, the place where sociology is principled, and to the New School for Social Research.
Wow.
That's neat. I think my pebble would be the cultural aspect of LeMoyne Owen College. We had people on campus during my tenure, Nikki Giovanni. We had Brownlee 31 packed with students trying to listen to her. The Velma McLemore Lecture Hall, for those of us who are old like Clarence and I, it wasn't Brownlee 31, it was the lecture hall. When we had Garrett Morris there, a lot of people know Garrett from, what's his name?
Jamie Foxx Show.
Jamie Foxx Show. Well, he's a singer. He's a concert singer, opera, and we had him on campus, which was wonderful. We've had lots of artists like, we had Nina Simone back in the day. She came through LeMoyne. A lot of y'all don't know these people, but they were wonderful jazz and vocalists, and that's my pebble that I remember, the cultural aspect of what LeMoyne Owen College had to offer, and bringing those people on campus, because a lot of us who grew up in Memphis had not had the opportunity to meet those people.
They were called the Lyceum features.
Yes, they were. And one of the biggest pebble in the library is a Ben Shahn mural. That mural, and when you walk in the library, that's across the
I had that painting. Yep.
That it should be worth millions, because he did that tile by tile. And when the library opened in 1968, it was a sight to be seen. People were coming from all over the country to see that mural. So we have a lot to be very proud of at LeMoyne Owen College. And we've got to instill in our students during freshman orientation the importance, the impact, and what this college means to Memphis and the world, because it means a lot.
Yes, it does.
For those that are listening to this podcast, of course, if you've listened intently, one of the things that you should be clear on at this point, whether you're talking about Dr. Christian or Dr. Chinn-Jointer or any other alums for that matter, everyone has a LeMoyne story. And so I am convinced that my assignment in this season is to help to change the narrative. So much of what people know about LeMoyne is an article that they've read in the Commercial Appeal during some of those valleys that Dr. June Chinn-Jointer mentioned, or a blurb on Facebook and so forth. So what we need from the alum and from the supporters of LeMoyne is we need to change the narrative. And so the question becomes, how do we do it? Here's what we need. We need for you to tell your LeMoyne Owen story. We need for you to protect the story. We need for you to bring others into the story. But here's the most important thing. We need for you to hold yourself accountable to the story. And if we'll do that, listen, we'll get where we want to get to.
All right.
That's great.
That is awesome. Thank you all so much for joining me today, for taking the time to share your stories, your amazing stories. It was some good storytelling on here today. Am I right, audience? Yes. Yes. Learning about the only HBCU here in Memphis, Tennessee, LeMoyne Owen College. I'm so proud of my school. I'm so proud of all of you here today. I want to thank you once again, Dr. Christopher Davis, Dr. June Chinn-Jointer, Dr. Christian, Clarence Christian. Thank you all so much for joining me
Thank you for
today.
having us.
Yes,
Thank
you
you.
all were amazing. And thank you all for attending this live Verbally Effective podcast. As I mentioned before, this podcast will be repurposed on the Verbally Effective platform. And for those that are listening, make sure you hit that subscribe and follow button so that you can continue to hear this good storytelling on the Verbally Effective podcast. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.